Now, Grace, you mentioned boot camp. Now, when did you go through Navy boot camp?
1944.
44. And what kind
Up
of...
at Smith College.
Was it tough, physically demanding?
Mentally demanding. All those youngsters that came in with me, they could still memorize things, and I'd forgotten how.
I see. So you
can't memorize you can't derive the organization of the Navy. You have to memorize it.
So you were older than most of the other enlistees and recruits?
I just barely got in. I was 37.
37. Now, what interested you about going into the Navy at 37?
Well, World War II to begin with. That's one of the hardest things to tell the people in this country. There was a time when everybody in this country all did one thing together.
Yeah.
And downtown know what a billion is either. And if you don't know what a billion is, how on earth do you know what a billionth is? I fussed and fumed. Finally one morning, in total desperation, I called over to the engineering building, and I said, please cut off a nanosecond and send it over to me. And I brought you some today. Now what I wanted when I asked for a nanosecond was, I wanted a piece of wire which would represent the maximum distance that electricity could travel in a billionth of a second. Now, of course, it wouldn't really be through wire. It'd be out in space, velocity of light. So if you start with the velocity of light and use your friendly computer, you'll discover that a nanosecond is 11.8 inches long. The maximum limiting distance that electricity can travel in a billionth of a second. Finally, at the end of about a week, I called back and said, I need something to compare this to. Could I please have a microsecond? I've only got one microsecond, so I can't give you each one. Here's a microsecond. 984 feet. I sometimes think we ought to hang one over every programmer's desk or around the neck so they know what they're throwing away when they throw away microseconds. Now, I hope you'll all get your nanoseconds. They're absolutely marvelous for explaining to wives and husbands and children and admirals and generals and people like that. An admiral wanted to know why it took so damn long to send a message via satellite. And I had to point out that between here and the satellite, there were a very large number of nanoseconds. You can explain these things. It's really very helpful, so be sure to get your nanoseconds.